In high school, I was very much into marching band. All my friends were the band kids. I was the captain of my high school drumline, so I couldn't really imagine myself going to a school that didn't have a marching band. JMU was my second choice school if UVA didn't work out, and of course they have a fantastic marching band. My brother went to UVA, and he was on the drumline 3 of his 4 years. So all of my high school years, I went in Charlottesville every Saturday to see all the games, and it was really cool to see the band grow, because his first year of school was the band's first year. So I had been coming to the Saturday game day practices pretty much the whole time and seeing it happen on the field, and it was just such an exciting thing that I just felt like I felt like I was already a little bit a part of it just from the outside, and I really wanted to be in there and be a part. The summer before my first year started, I was terrified. So I had done my high school drumline, but I knew that college drumline would be on a whole nother level, and I was very nervous to see everybody. So we actually met up. We got an email that if we wanted to, we could meet up and go to lunch ahead of time. So pre-camp was at the Cage. We met up over at U-Haul and walked over to the Italian Villa with all the the older drum guys. Michael Purvis was there, I remember, and Ben Hallisey. And we sat down, and with tons of us sat down on all the big long booths at the Villa. And they had those placemats with the map of Virginia on them. And we all sat around and we pointed to where we were from on the map. I'm from Chesapeake, it's right here. I'm from Nova, it's here. I sat next to Monica Anderson and Sadeo McCall, and they were so fantastic and so friendly. And then we went over and drummed inside U-Haul. This was, I think, JPJ had just opened, so U-Haul was still going, and we drummed inside there with Island, and it was terrifying, but it was fantastic. And from then on, I didn't feel afraid about it anymore. That first experience just set me at ease so much, and they made me feel so welcome. The CMB definitely drove my student experience. It was the biggest thing that I was involved in, definitely. So everything kind of wrapped around it, and it, especially being in band, drumline especially, that was my friend group, that was my social life, so it all kind of conveniently wrapped together. And yeah, schoolwork was, obviously schoolwork to a certain extent, but I had some friends I was in classes with some band people, so we, would study together, do work, and so it fit in very nicely with the whole it was my student experience. I'm sure a lot of people know this, and I'm sure it's the same with every section, but just the amount of family feeling and commitment, and just everybody's there for each other all the time, and it's such a family feeling. And it was, drumline, marching band, but specifically drumline was my college experience. It's hard to separate my college experience from drumline. It's my best friends, it's the people that I lived with, it's the people that I dated, for a certain amount of time, and it was, I don't know, just my family. I couldn't imagine not having them, having a college experience that didn't include drumline. Just keeping that level of musicianship every week was the hardest thing, especially on drumline. If you don't know your music, it's quite obvious if your sticks aren't moving how everybody else's are. So just trying to keep up with, just keep getting the music memorized, and playing to that high level of, the high expectation every week, and being consistently good was a challenge all the way through. I had a taste of what it was like from the inside a little bit, because I worked in the office for my second, third, and fourth year. I decided I want to be a grad assistant instead of marching, just because drumline, there are so many people, and I just felt like it was kind of time for me to move on, and there are so many people that want those spots. I just felt like I'd kind of reached that natural stopping point, but I loved the band so much, and I was going to be in Charlottesville, and I couldn't really imagine myself, not being there, not being part of that game day experience. It wasn't time for me to leave yet, I didn't think. So I just thought it would be a good way to still be with the band and kind of continue my role working with the directors, but in a different capacity. It was a really cool experience. It was, you understand a lot more the inner workings of things and why things happen the way they do. When you're in the band, it's very much you learn that this is the machine, and we do things that we don't always understand, and you have to be ready to change the plan at a moment's notice without asking why. That was the one thing I learned. You don't ask why, you just go and, you just do what they say, and you realize why they make the decisions they make and why things happen the way they do. And it's kind of cool to know that you're helping get this more than 300 person machine to certain places, and you learn that if one thing goes wrong, then it could really, butterfly effect. So it made me definitely respect the directors a lot more, even more than I already did, and just see how much it takes to run the band and to make everything happen, and how every little detail has to be planned out perfectly, or else things could go badly. In the very best way, I likened it to a combination of the TV show The Office and the movie The Devil Wears Prada, where Anne Hathaway is a personal assistant to this high-powered CEO of this magazine, and every day she comes in and she would just give her these impossible tasks. She'd be running all over New York, and that's how I felt sometimes in Charlotte. So I'd come in and I would just have the most random things to do. Sometimes it was just, make copies of this, file this, call this person, and sometimes I wish I could remember some of the crazy things that I did sometimes, but it was very cool. I felt like I had these missions sometimes. What am I going to be doing today? It was a cool job to have. I'm really glad. I can't imagine having any other kind of college job. Just going to hang out with the band directors, ABJ. ABJ is Superman. I'm pretty convinced. My favorite thing about ABJ is how much he loves the band, straight down to his core. You can tell that he just has so much passion and so much love for the band, and he would do anything for the band, just like you. There was one practice last year where the band had to stay a little bit later, and he's about halfway, maybe it was about 7 o'clock, and he calls us over, says, "Okay, I want to get pizzas for the band at 8:15. I need you to feed 300 people in 1 hour." And ABJ and I were like, we'll try. And ABJ was so, not that I wasn't, but you could tell he wanted to make it happen with everything, and he was calling, and it was just a small demonstration of how much he loves the band and would do anything, and you can see it in his work, and just the way he interacts with the band and his dedication. I don't know, he just loves the band so much, and it's really cool to see, and I'm so glad that he has a job and he's working with them. We tried so hard. Domino's was like, no. And then we called Taco Bell, and they put me on hold indefinitely and then hung up on me. And then we called McDonald's to try to see too. And I think ABJ actually went to McDonald's too to ask them in person. So that one didn't end up working out. We need 300 hamburgers in 45 minutes, please. Yeah. We have done things like, if it's the beginning of rehearsal, one time I think we organized canes for the band in the scope of one rehearsal, but I don't know. Sometimes we felt like magicians, and sometimes we just felt like the most useless people in the world. But it's all for the love of the band. Peas and Cook are definitely maybe like my crazy uncle. They're like my crazy uncles that I feel like kind of raised me a little bit, and I love them, and sometimes I just look at them and I'm like, you just said that. And there are just so many great quotables that I'll never forget. So just their antics in the office. When Ed was here, Ed Savoy, just their antics with him in the office. Yeah, when the band office was over in Honesty Hall and I worked there, their antics sometimes. I would come in and I said, "What are they doing today?" It's the ladies. Oh, I love Id's ear. I was so excited to see Id's ear. He just showed up at a rehearsal. He had gotten a mic. I guess the directors knew he was there, but he'd gotten a mic and the whole band was there, and all of a sudden I just hear this voice saying something like, "That sounds like Id's ear," and there he was. Costin, Dwayne, good guy. It was fun working with him. I didn't get to work with him for as long as the other directors, but it was I think he's a good fit for the band. Just seeing him work with them, it seems like he fits in really well with the directors too, because not anybody could work for, you couldn't just pick anybody. It has to be the right person that, can fit in with their humor and can stand up to it and hold their own, and also know how to manage this many people, on time. The international trips were very, very, I'm very, very glad I did them. My favorite one, I think, was when we went to Brazil. It was the summer after my first year. And I'd been in the band for a year, but I hadn't started working in the office or anything yet. I didn't know peas or cook quite as well. And it was a really great experience. It was a fairly small group of us, maybe 30 people or so. And just going through that experience together was so cool. We have two memories that were my favorite things that we did. One of them was the show that we played 2 shows while we were there. One of them was in this really old theater in Manaus. Oh no, it was in Ouro Preto. It was like an old historic region of Brazil, kind of in the central area. And we went, and it was a pretty small group of us. We got on stage, and we just played our normal show. And the response was just so overwhelming. The theater was full. Everybody was energetic. We played like 2 or 3 different encores because they were so excited about it. P signed autographs. There were like old ladies that brought up their programs and had them sign, and were taking pictures of them, kissing them on the cheek, and just to see that everybody was actually excited to see us and really into what we were doing, and it was just so fun. I remember we played a percussion ensemble piece, and we had the Mallet Cats out in the front, and we were just kind of jamming, and everybody was so excited, clapping and dancing, and it's really cool. And the other part was not related to us playing, but just more of a, I guess 3 things. Another memory is the very first night that we got there. We were exhausted. We had been flying pretty much all, we met up in Miami that morning, and we had a really long layover, and then we had to get out of the country, and we finally made it there to our hotel. And let's see, Parker and I think Dave Knight went and got a case of beers, and we just sat around. We got these white plastic chairs out by the pool, and we just sat around in a big circle, and we had a feeling circle. And we just talked about kind of what we were hoping to get out of the trip, how we were feeling, and just really drank some delicious Brazilian beers and really bonded. And it was a great start to the trip. And then one of the last things we did was we went to a floating restaurant. We were on the Amazon, in the Amazon region in Brazil. We went to a floating restaurant for dinner, and then we were going to take this kind of sunset boat cruise. So we get out to the dock, and we're in the middle of Brazil. It's like these tiny little wooden boats with little planks for seats and a little roof. There was one guy running the motor on the back, and one guy sitting on the roof with a flashlight. No life jackets, no safety training or anything. Of course, we're all just like, yeah. We hop in the boats, and we go out, and the sun is setting. And by the time maybe 15 minutes in, the sun was down, and we're in the middle of the Amazon. There's nothing, no light pollution. There's nothing around, and just the darkness was it was just so dark, and the sky looked like a planetarium. It was the coolest thing that I had ever experienced, I think. Probably one of my most favorite memories. And the sounds were just they were just so loud, all the animal sounds, and we went looking for caiman. You can flash the flashlight and their eyes turn red, and we pulled them out, and we held them, and then put them back. And it was just such a cool, very dangerous. I thought about it later, because if you put your hand down, you're in the Amazon River with all the piranhas and everything. But it was just such a cool experience, and to feel that with the people that I had just become closest with over the past week was something really powerful and really very cool.
Yes.
And then there was also Costa Rica. We went there after my 3rd year, which was very fun. I was there was one day when it was our own little island. They rented out this little island for us to go hang out on, and we were kayaking. I was in a 2-person kayak with Rodell Tolliver in the front, and I was in the back. We were kind of going around, and Idzier and Peas roll up in the kayak beside us. They're like, "Hey guys, how's it going?" "No, it's good. This is really fun." And Idzier goes, "Hey, is your oar the same size as mine?" was like, I mean, I think so. And he said, can I see it for a second? No, of course, I'm like, okay. And then Peace is like, go, go, go. And they just pull away. So Rodell and I are stranded in the kayak in the ocean. And Pease, this is one of my favorite Pease quotes. I don't know if he even remembers saying this because it was just very offhand, but they're like going around us, and he's like, we're going so fast, it's like we're in a hovercraft. And Rodell and I are just like, what do we do? Pease just took our horn. We just kind of floated in the kayak for a while, and then they were nice. They brought us back over so we could get back to shore. But one of my favorite Pease memories. That's again that crazy uncle status where you just love him to death, and he's a part of the family.